Trump accepted his renomination on the last night of the RNC, and he did so to a crowded party at the White House. And it really shows you just how little these people take COVID seriously, because none of them were social distancing, none of them were wearing masks. The absence of social distancing and flouting of masks seems to complete the game of make-believe that themed the week's festivities, that the coronavirus pandemic was a nightmare of months ago, not a reality. Now, as we know, it continues to be a reality for the vast majority of Americans who are still dealing with layoffs, still filing for unemployment, and still watching their family members die alone in hospitals. In fact, nearly 180,000 Americans have already died as a result of Donald Trump's incompetence and inaction in response to the pandemic. And so CNN's Jim Acosta talked about a senior White House official who blew off concerns to him about coronavirus right before the event. Let's take a look.
The senior White House official brushed off these concerns about the lack of social distancing at the president's speech tonight, saying, quote, and get this quote might blow you away, everybody is going to catch this thing eventually. Those are the words coming from a senior White House official about the concerns being raised.
It's amazing. And oftentimes when these types of big events happen, Trump's campaign or the Trump administration will argue that no, we made sure that everyone was tested and that they were negative before they came. Not this time though. They didn't even try to lie about that. An overwhelming majority of guests were not administered rapid coronavirus tests, Trump campaign and convention officials told the Washington Post, citing the complexity of logistics to test such a large crowd despite their close proximity to the president and White House staff.
Of course, at this rate and the way that they're doing things, I guess it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you want to say, hey, everybody's going to get this thing eventually. Yeah, that's what we're working on. I mean, that's the one plan that's put into place to actually get to an objective that they're looking for here. And you know what? I'm beginning to get, not beginning to, I've been at this point for a few weeks now. Hey, if a bunch of folks like those bikers up in, it was either North Dakota or South Dakota, I can't remember which one. Those 100,000 bikers went to have their little get together. And the reason I'm not fully just gonna like have at it is because of course they come home and they spread it to their families and their friends.
Yep.
And those families and friends then spread it to someone else. Potentially, all those cases tend to happen that way. But I want to bring up also the protests, and then also let's say it was the March on Washington. And we'll still get conservatives that will complain that these events, why aren't Democrats concerned about these events? Those are super spreader events too. So, just in case someone is thinking that right now, let's not forget. Now, this, at least the data that I still saw was from middle of the summer, July. And they said after George Floyd's death and all the protests came out, there was great concern that these things could actually cause a spreader event. The determination of actual numbers and facts and figures from a study found no evidence that these protests reignited any COVID-19 cases that were sparking around the country. That just wasn't the case. Now, for whatever reason, because people were socially distant, people were wearing masks, and then people that were out of the house, there was other folks that were near them that weren't with them, because everyone didn't go on the streets. Just in case you didn't know, 100% of the population wasn't in the streets. But anyway, these things, I was worried about that too. I was like, I'm not sure if I'd go to a protest because we're still dealing with COVID, right? That's a thought I think in everybody's mind. Now, when it comes to people dying, getting murdered in the streets, maybe there's a certain risk that enough people are willing to take. And if they have that mindset already, they're probably gonna take other precautions as well to make sure the next thing that they're concerned about, which is the spread of COVID, is happening. They're not out there going, yeah, F COVID, yeah, this is a hoax. Let me cough in your face, open your mouth. Like that's not what's happening at these events. But at these conservative events that are anti-masking and all these things, and last night, Giuliani rubbing his disgusting head and rubbing it on the woman next to him, those types of things, that's what caused, and then he asked, and then he reached over to whisper in her ear about something. So those are the types of things that can help spread things. There's a reason why there's rules and regulations and guidelines that used to be put forward by the CDC to help people understand the best way to avoid contracting this. But those things have also been just brushed away as well. So they have no more legs to stand on. Don't criticize anyone else if you're acting like this.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely agree with you on that. But also at some point, I mean, we all have a certain amount of like emotional bandwidth, right? And I say that because at this point, I have to be a little more selective in what gets under my skin. If they don't want to take this seriously and they want to put themselves and their family members' lives in jeopardy by being doofuses, then okay. I mean, what am I gonna do? There's nothing we can do. They're not taking it seriously. Let's just take a quick look at the recent numbers released by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The United States now has over 5.8 million confirmed coronavirus cases. In the United States, we've had 180,165 deaths. And just in the last 7 days, 294,083 cases. So yeah, I mean, you're right. It's become a self-fulfilling prophecy when they say, well, everyone's gonna get it, so whatever. Yeah, everyone is probably gonna get it because of their inaction, because of how little they value human lives. And I just never wanna hear a right winger come at me or anyone on the left again about how abortion is murder, because they don't care about lives. They like to talk about doing away with reproductive rights because they love punishing women, they love controlling women's lives, they love all that. But when they try to use this fake argument about how like, no, we really think that zygotes are human lives. No, you don't. It was a lie before, and now it's abundantly clear that it's a lie, and no one can convince me otherwise. There might be some decent Christians out there who genuinely in their hearts believe it, but I really think that's a small majority. I mean, small minority.
Yeah, I think some believe it, but the thing is, once it becomes personal, they stop believing it. I mean, humans do that, unprincipled humans do that. And even principled humans do that because they're like, man, I never thought I'd be confronted with this issue right now. I'm gonna go ahead and go this route. And they'll never admit it, That's the reason why people have secrets. So yeah, and we've heard those stories of powerful and politicians that have a mistress, first of all, lack of family values, and then get that mistress pregnant and then abort that baby. Suddenly you don't care anymore about all those principles because it's me though. Tort reform, I forget, who was it back in the day? I'm forgetting all these old politicians that aren't in the office anymore. Hardcore against tort reform. And then his wife had some issue happen. He's like, of course she sued them. This was a disaster. It happened to us.
I know it's amazing.
I mean, irony.
Jerry Falwell Jr. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Want to win a free electric scooter? Well, our partners at Aspiration and Zoom Electric are making it possible. All you have to do is head to tyt.com/greensummer for your chance to win.